speech. Now I look to Professor Amitav Acharya to continue the case for opposition.
To the House. The proposition has made a lot of noise, but actually has shown very little light. Let there be light. I represent no country, no branch of government, no diplomatic service, no cabinet, no Congress, no House of Representatives, no parliament. I speak as an independent person. I'm a citizen of the United States, citizen of Canada, and half a citizen of India. I have taught in South Africa, Thailand, Hungary, United Kingdom, the great University of Bristol. From that perspective, some of the things I heard from the proposition sound to me as unbelievable. We are arguing against the proposition. We are in the opposition. Let me start by giving you two very memorable lines about American leadership. One comes from Madeleine Albright. Congresswoman Harman had referred to her. In 1998, referring to Iraq, she said, I quote, "If we have to use force, it is because we are America. We are the indispensable nation." A few months later, she said, if we act, others will criticize us. Others may not like us, but why should we care? This was an interview with William Safire, or in the roast with William Safire. A decade and a half later, another American statesman, former President Barack Obama, another liberal internationalist, another multilateralist, says in a speech to West Point in 2014, the same year I published my book, The End of American World Order. And I quote, "Here is my bottom line. America must always lead on the world stage. If we don't, no one else will," unquote. To me, I don't see this as leadership. I see this as hubris. It is dangerous for the world, and it is dangerous for America itself. Let me give you 3 reasons why. Now, my fine colleague from the opposition, Simon, has preempted me somewhat, but let me emphasize the points he made. First, US leadership has failed in many critical junctures, especially when it comes to this weird idea of regime change, changing governments to make them democratic. So we have examples in Iraq, Libya, even Afghanistan, which were originally started as probably a justifiable intervention, but trying to change the regime and the way the withdrawal happened. It's a failure of policy. I've heard the statement from many people that in the liberal order led by US disappears, the world will be on fire. My question is, who started those fires? Who started the fires in Iraq? Who started the fires in Libya? Who started the fires in Afghanistan? Second, again, Simon has made this point, it's about capacity. But let me give you an example, very example. Nothing is more important to the world than economic development. That puts people out of poverty. Today, China spends more money on international development than the United States. I'm not inventing this. College of William and Mary in US has done a study on this. China consistently annually spends more money on international development than the United States. So why should China lead? Why should the United States lead? In one of the most critical aspects of international relations, China and India have spent millions and millions, hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. Why shouldn't they lead when the world is still mired in poverty, inequality, and lack of progress? Finally, third point, domestic politics in the US. We would love America to lead in some cases. Would the Congress allow it? Congresswoman Jane Harman? This partisan, fractious domestic politics of the United States has drained it of any credibility of global leadership. There was a time we used to call American foreign policy consensus during the Cold War. So Republicans and Democrats agreed with each other on a whole variety of issues. Today, the extreme polarization, the extreme mood swings, when administration changes, makes it very difficult to take United States foreign policy seriously. To the House, then, a schizophrenic nation cannot be an indispensable nation. Look at what Donald Trump did. He reversed a whole range of policies of Barack Obama, not because they were wrong, but because they were Obama's policies. Talking about Trans-Pacific Partnership, the Iran nuclear deal, talking about the Paris Agreement, climate agreement. There is no basis to it, just personal vendetta. Policies on immigration. How can countries trust a country whose politics is so divided, so fractious? To be a leader, you need credible commitments. American commitments to the world are no longer credible because the domestic politics is so fractious and poisonous. So, moving on. I believe the US must not always lead, as Obama put it. It should sometimes be led. Sometimes it should step back, let others lead. And this point has been made by some of my colleagues, also by Sir Malcolm. There are many other countries to lead. We always think it is either US or China, or US or China and Russia. What about the rest of the world? What about France? What about UK? Now, here is one important thing. It's because of this mentality that if America doesn't lead, nobody else can lead. This has led to free riding. This is why Sir Malcolm's government could not lead, because you have become dependent on the United States of America. You can think clearly for yourself. This is very, very common in academic literature, called free riding. If you take off this free riding, if America allows others to lead, there will be others to lead. And that leadership is not going to be one country leading in every area. I coined the term multiplex world and G+ leadership. A G+ leadership is not G1, G2, G7, G20, or G0. It is G+. That means two things. No country can lead in every issue area. Some countries lead in one issue area. I'll give you an example. China leads in economic development, no question about it. Well, European Union leads in climate change. Can't find a better leader. United States, when it is not unilateral, talking about 1990 Iraq War, can actually lead in collective security. The senior Bush, his campaign, or in vaccines. But why we should have is either America or China, or America or Russia. The vast majority of the people in the world don't live in these countries. They live in Africa, Latin America, Middle East, and Asia. They don't have to choose between these countries. So the United States, therefore, has to step back, let others lead. And leadership also is not a question of governments. It's also a matter of people. Now there's a lot of literature on global governance that says increasingly leadership in global governance is not done by states or the big multilateral institutions like IMF and World Bank and UN. It's done by NGOs, done by corporations, done by foundations like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. People with social media can exercise leadership. People make a hell of a difference in foreign policy making because of Twitter, Facebook, whether we like it them or not, sometimes excesses. So this sort of world doesn't need a single leader. It certainly don't need the kind of President Obama-style rhetoric or Madeleine Albright kind of rhetoric. I am a big fan of President Obama, but I do not like that idea that if America doesn't lead, no one else. That's not based on a realistic understanding of how the world is changing and why we are moving. So I ask the House to reject the proposition and to vote for the opposition. Thank you.